Welcome to the studio. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about mounting watercolor paper to panel like I've done in this painting here. Now there's different ways you can do it on this birch panel. You can buy pre-made ones at a lot of art stores. This is one that I made myself. If you're handy in the wood shop, be careful, and you can make your own as well. And I had to make, I just had this painting around. It was a custom size, so I went ahead and just made that myself and stained the sides, sealed it with all Cremar varnish when I was done. But I'll go through the steps that I took to make this. Alright, so the first step obviously would be to get yourself one of these panels. You can make your own, like I said, or you can buy pre-made birch panels pretty well anywhere, any art store. So this is, they kind of come in, big sheets of plywood. This is high-grade plywood is what it is, and birch from the lumber store. And, I got them to cut it in half so it would fit in the car to bring home. And then I finished the processing here. Now this panel is bare wood, so you want to treat it with something to seal it first. And so I use just white gesso, and I do that same as you use to prime a canvas or something, and let it dry completely. And I just paint it on with just a regular brush. And I think this is a Magic of Oil painting brush. Yeah, it is, if you remember that fella. Anyways, so once that's done, you let it dry completely. And the next step would be to prepare the surface for mounting and your painting for mounting. And obviously you want to make sure your painting is slightly larger than the panel that you're going to put it on, because you're going to trim this once it's dry. And so white gesso primer. The next thing you're going to do is make sure your painting fits. Trial fit it. It's not going to stick onto the dried gesso. I use matte gel by Acrylex as well. So the gesso is the same brand. And what you do with that is you put some on the surface, and you use a brayer rubber roller to just spread it around the surface underneath here. Imagine the painting's not here, and you're just putting it on the gesso. And once that's on there, you want to lay your painting down over top of that surface, and just use just another piece of watercolor paper over top like this, and use your brayer to flatten it all out. And then once it's all flat on there, you just want to make sure that it's right still, and then lay a piece of watercolor paper over top, and then something heavy like a board, some books or whatever, and just let it dry pretty much overnight. And once it's totally dry, what you want to do is turn it over. Again, I use watercolor paper to protect the painting. Turn it over and trim the edges carefully with an X-Acto type knife, and so that they're going to be flush with the edges here. You might want to just sand just a little bit with just light, like 400 grit sandpaper or something. Just sand away from your painting just to smooth the edge as well after you're done doing that. And you get a really nice finish. So the one question is, obviously, you got watercolor and it's not protected yet. And so I use this Cremar varnish, and I spray the painting one way, the other way. I probably put maybe 4 or 5 coats on it in different directions each time. And this has the varnish on it. You can't really tell that it's varnished. It doesn't really look much different than a regular watercolor. So it works really well. And I do seal the edges with that same varnish over top of this stain. So that's done, and it's pretty much ready to go. And you can put a wire in here, you can hang it, you can set it, it'll sit flat on a table too, like this, and just on a display, like a credenza or something. And so it works well. And just a quick note on using products like this. There are some warnings. Read the warning label on the back. I always wear rubber gloves, eye protection, and a proper respirator to protect myself from the fumes and the mist from this. And I also do it outside if I possibly can, just to be safe. So just make sure you're safe when you're using a lot of these products. Read the label, read the warnings, and follow them. Alright, so again, here are the products. White gesso, matte gel, that's for bonding your painting onto the surface that's already prepped with the gesso, and then finish with the, protect it with the Cremar varnish or your favorite. Some people use a wax finish on top, but I just use this Cremar. It works really well. All right, so the next thing I wanted to cover here is how to get the piece of paper that you're going to use, your watercolor paper, to the right size. This is a block of Arches cold press paper. It's a fine grain paper. In the blocks, they're all, they're all glued together on the edges with this kind of rubberized kind of agent. So what I do is I just use a little palette knife, and I get between the first layer, the first sheet, and I just work my way around, just along the outside and moving in an outward motion just a little bit, and gently rotate it all the way around like that and like that, and a little bit left there, and I've got it separated. Now I want to remember, sometimes it's really hard to tell what side is which. This Arches is a little bit different texture on the back. It's a little smoother, but this is the front face here. So what I do is I just write on the back, just ACP for Arches cold press, and I'll write it on this panel as well, on this side, because what we're going to do is we're going to size this paper to a smaller size that we want. So what I do is I get the back, this is the back, and I fold it in half like this carefully, and I just join up the edges right up to there, and I make sure this edge is even as well. Like that, and take your time doing it, and slowly with the heel or the palm of your hand, just press down and just go all the way across while you're holding it like that. And you don't have to do it all like that. And you go across like that, and then down there just with your finger. You can't take the end of this palette knife. Remember, I'm using the back side of the paper here. I wouldn't do this on the front side because you're going to cause a little bit of a distortion on the surface there. And then you fold it over on itself again. Now you're on the front side of the paper. I wouldn't touch. It's good to wear rubber gloves really or something when you're doing this, but I don't find it affects it too much. Just have clean hands. And then on the edge there, I just fold it over again, and you can see the paper starting to separate a little bit here. That gives you your clue that you're getting close to being able to tear it. You can tear it now, depending on what edge you want on there. And just start the tear, just one little corner like that. This is the back side, doesn't really matter. And just take it down like that, and you've got two sheets. Just like that. So you can do this again if you want even smaller sheets, and again, and you can get the size that you want. So the last thing I wanted to show you is how to remove the sizing out of the brand new watercolor brush. I'm sure you've all faced this, and it's hard. It's got some sizing in there to protect it and shipping, and to keep all the bristles together. So the easiest way I found to do it is you just dip it in water, rotate it around in the water, just swish it around, and gently, you can see it along the side here, just gently massage the bristles on the end, and you'll feel them start to separate like that. And you can see the brush against the glass there, it's getting soft, and you think you're done, but there's still more sizing in all these bristles. So just do it for maybe it'll take as long as it takes. Some of these brushes take longer than others. Obviously the bigger ones take longer than the smaller ones, but just take your time, and you can kind of feel when it's ready. And that's about it there for this one. Now there may still be a little bit of sizing in there, but it's not going to affect the performance of the brush too much once you get it saturated with pigment. And that's about it there. You can get bigger ones. This bigger mod takes a little longer time to separate all the bristles, all the fibers, and so just take your time and be very careful with the tip. Just massage it. The other way you can do it is just in your hand in running water. You can just work the brush around in the running water under the tap, and eventually it will separate the bristles, and you get the sizing out, and then be ready to use. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this short little tutorial, and thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. There's a new super thanks button on the bottom beside the share if you'd like to support the channel, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.